When the Pharisees heard that Jesus had silenced the Sadducees, they gathered together. And one of them, a scholar of the law, tested Jesus by asking, "Teacher, which commandment in the law is the greatest?" Jesus replied, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the greatest and the first commandment. The second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself." The whole law and the prophets depend on these two commandments. The gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus. Qué linda es vivir para amar. Qué linda vivir para amar. Hoy día estamos añadiendo un miembro más, una miembro más de nuestra comunidad. Gracias a Dios. Bienvenida, María. She's applauding. Y quiero enseñarte, hija, una cosa muy especial. I'm using the stole that I received 20 some years ago, 23 years ago when I left the St. Giles Family Mass Community. I was here this summer and used it at another time. Esta es una representación de la comunidad de fe, de esta comunidad hace mucho tiempo. Aquí está muchos que han muerto como mi mamá y otros están aquí como los otros guatemaltecos que estaban aquí en ese entonces, hace 23 años. Es un símbolo de lo que celebramos. Estamos aquí, celebrando el futuro. The scriptures for today, I think, really ask us a good question. How are you doing in the love department, George? You know, it's the bottom line for us Christians. What are you doing in the love department? I remember one time, years ago, when I was a young priest, I was up in Minnesota, and I had a wedding, and it was the girl was from the church. She knew her family really well. She was Catholic, and the guy was Baptist. And so his Baptist family came, and the Catholic family was there, and these two families coming together, different cultures. It was just really great, a great celebration. And at one point, the aunt of the groom got up to read the second reading, which was the reading from St. Paul to the Corinthians. It says, "Love is patient, love is kind, love is never boastful or rude." You know that one you hear oftentimes at weddings. Well, this woman got up and she was a church lady. So she got up and she said, "A reading from the first letter of St. Paul to the Corinthians. In this letter, Paul talks about love. What's love got to do with it?" I'm like, "Okay, lady, read the reading." In the end, I think that we have to get there. We have to ask ourselves that question. How am I doing in the love department? Do you love people? Do you love your wife? Do you love your husband? Do you love your friends? Do you love your enemies? Do you love creation? Do you love Donald Trump? Do you love Joe Biden? Do you love the world? Do you love our culture? Do you love the church? What how are you doing in the love department? And I always like to ask people in church, do you love your neighbor? Now be careful, because the most honest answer to that question is, it depends on who lives next door. I love my neighbor if he's good and kind and she doesn't throw her garbage on my lawn. I love my neighbors who are good, but I have to love all those neighbors. This, I think, is what's getting at in the scriptures today. We need to be people who love beyond our own comfort zone. The baptism of Maria is a wonderful symbol of the expansion of the Family Mass community. We'll find a space on the stole for her now, right? We find a place at the table for her now. We expand ourselves. And it's all about love. It's got to be the bottom line for us, right? To be people who love. When I read this first reading, I couldn't help but think how appropriate as we celebrate a baptism of a little Guatemalan baby. Thus says the Most High God, you shall not molest or oppress an alien or an immigrant, for you were once aliens yourselves in the land of Egypt. Now, when you think about the situation in the United States, the immigration situation that we're in right now in our country, one of the things that we have to remember is that so many people have forgotten their roots. The most anti-immigrant people in this country are grandsons and granddaughters of immigrants. It's ridiculous, right? We need to remember who we are and where we came from and why we're here and what is God calling us to. It goes to the deeper questions, right? The gospel reading is that classic reading. Now, once again, Pharisees are trying to trip Jesus up. They're trying to trick him. And Jesus knows how to answer their question. There were 613 commandments en la ley de los judíos. Había 613 mandamientos. Y ellos querían juzgar a Jesús. Ellos querían engañarlo. Ellos trataban de engañarlo. Pero él respondió con el base de todo, ¿verdad? What's the greatest of the commandments? Here it is. Love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. The Shema, Deuteronomy 6. And the second is Leviticus 19. Love your neighbor as yourself. And there's no other law or prophet that goes beyond that. That's all we need. Es todo lo que necesitamos. Ser gente que ama, ¿verdad? So hoy, decidamos que vamos a ofrecer a esta hija un espacio. I want to invite you, Family Mass community, to offer Maria a place, a space, where she feels like she belongs, where she's safe, where she's embraced by a family of faith. We've been doing this for 50 years, St. Giles Family Mass community, the tradition continues. You know, there's the images, there's all kinds of beautiful images in the scriptures tonight, in the liturgy. As a mother tenderly gathers her children, you embrace the people as your own and fill them with longing for love and for a place. God loves the human race, always walks with us in the journey of life. Open our eyes, Lord. Open our ears, open our hearts. I want to invite you tonight just to think about what kind of change we could all have. ¿Qué necesitamos para cambiarnos? No, sin vergüenza, sin culpa. Decidamos que vamos a cambiar. Vamos a amar más. La familia de Enrique y Florinda representan una familia que tiene mucho amor. Miren, tantos niños. I said to him when I first saw him, old guy like you with a baby, what's up with that? He said, yeah, I'm 80 years old, Father. Tonight, we celebrate love. Tonight, we celebrate the power of God's love. Let me give you one quote in English and Spanish that sums it all up. Teilhard de Chardin said this. One day after we master the earth and the sea and the skies, then we will harness for God the energies of love. And then, for the second time, we will discover fire. Un día, después de que hemos sobrevivido a la tierra, el mar y los cielos, vamos a juntar por Dios las energías del amor. Y entonces, por la segunda vez, descubriremos fuego.
Like a child rests in its mother's arms, so will I rest in you. Like a child rests in its mother's arms, so will I rest in you. My God, I am not proud, I do not look for things to bring. Like a child rests in its mother's arms, so will I rest in you. Like a child rests in its mother's arms, so will I rest in you. My God, I trust in you. You care for me, you give me peace. Like a child rests in its mother's arms, so will I rest in you. Like a child rests in its mother's arms, so